There is no one magical pill that will make, all of the bad stuff go away and will make you live forever, right? So it needs to be an effort on a daily basis.
Welcome to the Siim Lund podcast. I'm your host Siim Lund, and our guest today is Dr. Elena Seranova. Elena has a PhD in stem cell biology and autophagy from the University of Birmingham. She also has a master's degree in translational neuroscience and is the founder of NMN Bio. In this episode, we talk about the details of the process of autophagy and how does it work with NAD. This episode is brought to you by Self-Decode. Self-Decode is a genetics decoding company. You can get personalized health recommendations based on your DNA and the latest scientific research. They have numerous different DNA reports for different areas of focus like weight loss, longevity, gastrointestinal health, cognition, and even mood. Recently, Self-Decode came out with their 2.0 software that incorporates artificial intelligence in generating DNA reports. It's the most advanced and comprehensive consumer DNA service in the world. You can get a 10% discount with the code SIEM at selfdecode.com. Head over to selfdecode.com and use the code SIEM for a 10% discount on your personalized DNA reports. Dr. Elena, welcome to the show.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you because you're one of the few scientists who actually does research about this thing called autophagy, and that's something that I am really interested in myself, and a lot of people are also curious about. And you have like a full like a scholar profile full of different kind of studies that you've involved with about autophagy and those kind of things. So how did you become, let's say, like an autophagy scientist?
Yeah, so I'm actually an interdisciplinary scientist, and I guess that I always was really eager to learn, and I sometimes call myself an information junkie because I really love absorbing new information. So I actually started my studies with psychology, and I did my bachelor's degree in psychology, a bit of cognitive neuroscience there. And then I realized that I'm really fascinated by the human brain. So I started studying neuroscience at first myself. And then I found this really interesting master's degree in translational neuroscience, which is basically neuroscience and genetics. And this is when I first got involved with wet lab biology research. And I got fascinated by it again because I got to grow cells and do cool molecular biology experiments on them. And this is when I decided to continue my studies in this area. And I did my PhD at the University of Birmingham in the UK in autophagy and stem cell biology, where I was studying different mechanisms related to neurodegeneration in stem cell derived models. And the main mechanism that I was studying was autophagy. And this eventually led me to studying other areas such as NAD biology and cell metabolism and so on.
Yeah, there's a really really popular, all these topics like stem cells and NAD and autophagy. So you must be feeling like, on top of the world in terms of choosing this right topic to pursue in your life.
Well, it's autophagy is a very essential mechanism, as we will, talk about it today in more depth, and it's very crucial for multiple cellular functions. And without it, cells literally cannot survive. And on top of that, autophagy is also related to NAD as well. And this is when I came across, these popular subjects such as NAD boosters, and this is why I started my current company as well, which is NMN Bio, which offers anti-aging supplements with focus on NAD boosters in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe let's start with what is autophagy and how does it work. So you have like some slides also that you prepare for us, and
yes.
You can just share the screen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I would be happy to do this. Let me just this here. So just bear with me, please. So what is autophagy is the question of the day. And we will start by stating that autophagy is basically a vital homeostatic pathway essential for cellular survival and human health. So what does this actually mean? We're going to talk about this in great detail today. First, we will provide an overview of the autophagic mechanism. So it starts with the formation of the so-called phagophore, which is a double membrane structure. And what the phagophore does is that it engulfs different dysfunctional organelles and aggregate proteins and other compartments of the cell that need to be digested because they're not serving the cell anymore. And this process can be triggered by multiple pathways. Some of them are mTOR dependent and some of them are mTOR independent. And there are some agents, some pharmacological agents and natural compounds that can activate all these pathways. For example, rapamycin is a hot topic right now, but it actually acts through mTOR. And then, there are other agents such as carbamazepine or trehalose, which is actually a disaccharide that you can put in your coffee instead of your sugar and activate your mTOR independent autophagy pathways as well. So back to the phagophore, what it does is that it engulfs all the cargo that needs to be digested, and then the autophagosome is being formed from this. Later on, the autophagosome is fused with the late endosome and then the lysosome, which is another organelle in the cell, and it is acidic and it contains acidic hydrolases that basically digest this cargo, and they break it down into essential building blocks within the cell, such as amino acids and fatty acids. So the reason why autophagy is so important is that it's because it's implicated in so many diseases, and we have seen in multiple situations where autophagy is somehow impaired or dysregulated, where we're seeing with different pharmacological agents again or natural compounds that if we do fine-tune the autophagic process within the cell, we actually can see beneficial results. So, for example, in neurodegenerative diseases, the burden for neuronal cells in neurodegeneration is usually dysfunctional mitochondria and aggregate proteins. Those are the top two kind of dysfunctional materials that need to be digested within the neuron for it to function properly. And we've seen some benefits with autophagy inducers such as rapamycin and trehalose and so on. Same applies to liver diseases and myopathies, infectious diseases, where upregulation of autophagy is beneficial. In cancer, autophagy actually has a dual role because sometimes the cancer cells are hijacking the mechanism of autophagy in order to survive. And this is where we're using autophagy blockers, actually. And so on. And then in aging, we do see that there is a decline in autophagy that correlates with aging, and it again, causes accumulation of damaged organelles and reactive oxygen species and so on. So again, upregulating our autophagy as we get old is quite beneficial for the cell, and this is reflected in how many diseases organ diseases it's implicated, but also in systemic illnesses such as cancer or autoimmune disorders, metabolic syndromes, and even viral infections. So we see how important this mechanism of autophagy is, and that without it, all of our tissues would be doing quite badly.
Right. Yeah, that's a good. I also have seen like a ton of this research about how involved autophagy is in everything. Like it's involved with the immune system, involved with the microbiome, the brain, and just general aging, and etc. But I think most people have this idea that autophagy is kind of this thing, like this, like a robot or a Pac-Man that is going throughout the entire body and cleaning up things. But it's not like it's actual. You can't like really pinpoint it, or you can't identify this thing called autophagy inside the body. There are these autophagosomes that illustrate or reflect the process of autophagy, but autophagy itself as a thing isn't like it's not like insulin that your body produces and you can like pinpoint. It's more of like a
it's a process.
Yeah.
And this is why we're seeing how in different concepts, when we upregulate autophagy, how many things are basically being fixed within the cell. So we can see here that we have reduced accumulation of toxic proteins in the cell. We have improved removal of pathogens such as viruses as well. So autophagy actually has quite a few arms. So there is the bulk autophagy within the cell, and then we have the selective autophagy autophagy that is responsible for disposing certain substrates. For example, the arm of autophagy that is responsible for digesting dysfunctional mitochondria is called mitophagy, or the arm of autophagy that is getting rid of viruses that are getting into the cells is called virophagy. So it's implicated in improved immune responses, in reduced inflammatory responses within the cell. It protects the cell from apoptosis or necrotic cell death. Improved autophagy is also related to reduced cellular senescence and avoidance of oncogenesis. So it's very, very good for you. It's very good for longevity. And if you are interested in, being healthier for longer, autophagy is definitely something that you have to keep in mind. And you also have to strive to be increasing your autophagy throughout your life on a regular basis in order to get all of these benefits.
Mm-hmm. But you also mentioned that it'll involved in like cancers as well, so it has like some negative side effects as well. So how do you know how much of this autophagy is good, and when does it become harmful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, in cancers, it's a very specific kind of situation where you see that the cancer cells are actually relying on autophagy to survive, and this is why you want to actually take autophagy blockers as a complementary cancer therapy, which is a strategy that has been implemented in various clinical trials, and it has shown some beneficial effects. But 90% of the time, autophagy will actually be good for you. So if you don't have active cancer in your cell, autophagy is definitely a very good beneficial mechanism for you to activate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as I understand, then there's always some sort of autophagy happening inside the body in some shape or form, and it's just that during certain activities, like it increases exponentially higher. Like what ways to increase it, and how much again do you need in terms of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, in order to understand how to increase it, we need to know what activates it. So what activates autophagy is the signal of starvation, where we have decreased extracellular nutrients, or growth factor deprivation, which has to do with block in nutrient uptake. So when we have this environment where the cell realizes, wait a minute, so there's actually not many nutrients around me, and it realizes that it needs more nutrients to survive, or it somehow needs more materials in order to build whatever needs to be built. So this is where autophagy is getting activated, and then it degrades all of this unwanted organelles and proteins, and as we previously mentioned, it breaks them down into amino acids and fatty acids. So this is being fed back to either protein synthesis for cell survival, or back to the TCA cycle for ATP production, for energy production. So this is what autophagy does. And as we can see here, there are actually multiple pathways that can activate autophagy. This is quite a complicated image, and I try to do my best in order to highlight a couple of key pathways here. This is actually from one of our review papers that got published in the Journal of Molecular Biology in 2020, where we're talking about pluripotent stem cell models of neurodegenerative disorders by which you can study autophagy. So as you can see here, there are all of these pathways that will lead to activation of autophagy, and then you also have various compounds that can activate autophagy. The various pathways, such as, for example, here there is resveratrol and the NMN through the sirtuin-1 activation, which is also an indirect activator of autophagy, or trehalose, as I previously mentioned, that you can put it in your coffee, and this is something that you can literally buy off Amazon, lithium, and so on. And in order to in order to activate this process, the major signal, the major kind of strategy to activate it would be just through fasting, because when we are fasting, we do have this nutrient deprivation going on, and then different tissues will get into autophagy in different time frames as well. So, for example, after 12 hours of fasting, you will get the autophagy activated in the liver, and then other tissues will follow, such as muscles and heart and so on. That should be the goal number one, and that's why I personally am fasting for most of my day. I probably have a narrow window of around 3-4 hours a day where I'm fasting and I'm consuming calories, but the rest of it is just water and maybe tea sometimes, but that's about it, because I want to activate my autophagy. If you want to take it even further and you want to get more benefits from autophagy, of course you can do a fast of 2 or 3 days, although this is something that not many people can do because it's actually quite challenging, because you get very hungry and it's not easy to do. However, if someone wants to start and start getting the benefits of autophagy, they can just start doing the intermittent fasting on a daily basis and narrowing this window of food consumption as much as possible. So, I know that there are some people that also do one meal a day, and this kind of gives them a 23-hour fast, 24-hour fast every day. For me personally, this is kind of hard. I'm not doing it often. I'm usually just having 2 meals within this 3-4 hour time frame.
Okay. So the main kind of stimulus is this energy stress or energy deprivation, that your body gets low in certain nutrients, and then the response is to start to recycle them and clean out the things that you don't need, so that you could feed and survive the healthier cell parts.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I also have a slide here on how to measure autophagy, which is something that I know a lot of people wondering. And in the lab, it's actually quite easy to measure autophagy in the cells, because we can measure what's called the autophagic flux by measuring LC3, which is associated, a marker that is associated with the autophagosomes, the autophagy vacuoles, and then P62, which is the autophagy substrate. However, this is not possible to do in humans. So, and unfortunately, we don't have a direct way to measure autophagy at the moment. But what we can do is we can measure the glucose ketone index, which is something doable. You can do this at home, and you can measure your blood glucose, and you can also measure your ketones. And both of those measurements can be taken with a prick of a finger, and then you get this this number, this index that would indicate whether you are most likely to be in autophagy or not. So, for example, here I just took an even number here, just for the sake of the example, so it would be easier to kind of visualize. So let's say your blood glucose is 100. Ideally, it would be lower than 100 after fasting for some time, and then you're measuring your ketones that are now climbing above 1.5, and then you divide these numbers and you get this index here. And depending on this number, for example, if it's below 80, it indicates that there is already a good chance of being in autophagy. And if the number is below 40, for example, it indicates that there is a pretty big chance of you being in autophagy. And anything even lower than this number, let's say lower than 20, it's actually quite hard to achieve. You would probably be able to achieve it after a few days of fasting, and then supplementing with some exogenous ketones as well. And then you would get a number that would be, let's say, lower than 20. Gotcha. Yeah, this is just a guide on how to measure autophagy at home.
Yeah. Is there like any work being done on measuring it more directly besides this glucose ketone index, like having like some sort of like other biomarker?
That's the challenging part, because let's say we want to measure autophagy in humans, and what happens is that like we don't have a sophisticated way of doing this, because let's say you can take a saliva sample or you can take a blood sample from a human. However, even if you do have a biomarker there that you would be able to measure, those biomarkers won't be correlated with the autophagy in different tissues. So that's the problem there. And this is why we don't have a more reliable blood test or saliva test at the moment, because it's very hard to, let's say, you have a biomarker that shows a value of, let's say, 10 for the sake of our example here in the blood. But then what would be the autophagy in the liver? Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 20. We wouldn't be able to know. So there is definitely more research that needs to be done in order for us to see how we can kind of calibrate those values with a biomarker test. But at the moment, there is nothing else available, unfortunately.
Gotcha. What if you're eating this very strict ketogenic diet, and you are producing a lot of ketones and your blood sugar is also quite low, so you should get this very low glucose ketone index. But let's say you ate something right before and you still get this very low score. Does it still mean that you are having autophagy regardless that you just ate?
It depends on what you ate. So we do have fasting as a major activator of autophagy, but we also have fasting mimicking diets. So a fasting mimicking diet would be something where you consume, let's say, less than 750 calories a day. So it's actually quite, you're still quite low on calories. And then you also would want to kind of notice where those calories are coming from. So if you're not consuming more than 15 grams of protein, and you have a small meal with not much protein in it and less than 750 calories, there is a chance that you would still be getting some benefits of autophagy.
Gotcha. So you also need to be careful with the protein then.
I mean, I'm on a ketogenic diet myself, and sometimes I'm leaning towards carnivore diet, to be honest with you. I'm quite enjoying my proteins. But what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to have some days, let's say 1 or 2 days a week, or I don't know, a few days a month, where I'm actually consuming only vegan foods for this purpose. So I'm low on calories, I'm consuming no animal protein, and then those are my kind of a detox days from the high protein diet that I usually have in, and then I'm trying to maintain some of the autophagy benefits as well.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, we can carry on.
Okay, so in terms of how to naturally boost autophagy, I think we already pretty much discussed about everything here. The exercise that we're doing when fasted, it's also very beneficial for the body. And then when we're having some sauna sessions or some really hot shower sessions, we do have an effect where autophagy is also activated as well. So all of the above would be quite a good starting point if you want to naturally boost your autophagy. And besides that, there are quite a few foods that could also help you boost your autophagy levels and maintain it even when you're consuming some calories. So those would be something like elderberries or MCT oil, which is basically giving you exogenous ketones, and then other supplements such as curcumin and berberine, turmeric, milk thistle, and NAD boosters as well, because as I previously mentioned, NAD boosters are boosting the sirtuin-1 activity, and sirtuin-1 is actually an activator of autophagy through the TFAB and the FOXO transcription factors. So you will get those benefits if you're consistent with supplements that can boost autophagy as well. And then, of course, with coffee, green tea, cinnamon, and some mushrooms, we also can get this effect where we're kind of boosting the likelihood of being in autophagy.
How big is that effect? Like, let's say you do drink a cup of coffee, like how much autophagy can you expect to get from that?
It's not going to be much. And I think that the main takeaway message here is that if you're interested in your longevity and in your healthy aging and in having multiple benefits, including autophagy, it's kind of a regime that you need to have on a regular basis. So healthy aging is kind of like a marathon. So every day you need to kind of be thinking, okay, what can I do today in order to enhance my healthy aging? One of the tools is autophagy, and if you're not fasting and if you're eating like crap all the time, if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, it would be naive to kind of expect, okay, I'll have a cup of coffee or a green tea and I'll get a bit of my autophagy activated and this is it. It's it needs to be a battle against aging every day. This is what I'm usually telling some of my friends, and they're looking at me like I'm an alien or something, because I'm very passionate about it, and I'm usually transferring a lot of emotions around as well with this. But yeah, I mean, with coffee specifically, it's not going to be a huge effect, but if you are combining all of those things. So for example, my personal daily routine is to wake up, go do a workout for about 45 minutes, or I sometimes am going for a walk or a hike for 45 minutes. And then I will have my coffee. I will have my NAD booster as well in the morning. I will have my NMN with a teaspoon of olive oil, which contain oleic acid that is actually also a sirtuin-1 activator. And then I will have my coffee as well. So this is my morning routine, and all of those things kind of are contributing to to boosting my autophagy.
Gotcha. What are the foods like inhibited, like besides protein or?
I think the main one is the protein, to be honest with you. I think that's the main kind, because there are so meats are nutrient dense in general. So for this reason, any protein would kind of inhibit autophagy.
Gotcha.
Okay, and I think that was it for my presentation. Yep.
Good. That's good. Thanks for sharing. That was a really good overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, well, you did mention like the NAD boosting as well. So how does that work? Like how does NAD contribute to autophagy, and how can you like leverage it?
Yeah, so NAD is basically a master regulator of human metabolism. So it's a very important molecule in the cell, and it's responsible for fuel in multiple processes, including energy production through the TCA cycle and the subsequent ATP production. And not only that, but it also fuels our longevity genes called sirtuins. So those are implicated in mitochondrial production, mitochondrial quality control, on DNA repair, and so all the list is basically endless. And when we are on a healthy regime where we are boosting our autophagy and we're boosting our NAD with either supplements or exercise as well, and for this reason, we previously mentioned sauna, but actually any kind of hormesis, any kind of artificial stress for the body, even if it's a cold shower, for example, this would also have a very beneficial effect, because it will also boost the NAD production and activate the sirtuins. So NAD production and autophagy enhancement are kind of going hand in hand in the cell. And if you are following those holistic principles of healthy routine on a daily basis, you will get both of them activated. There are even some foods that are containing some nutrients and some compounds that can activate NAD. For example, broccoli and avocado both contain small amounts of NMN, which stands for nicotinic nicotinamide mononucleotide, which is an NAD precursor, and it converts into NAD in one step within the cell. However, the amounts that those foods have is quite small, and that's the reason why people are opting for NAD boosting supplements such as NMN, such as the one that we are offering with our company. And of course, all of our supplements are always third-party tested in the UK, and we also encapsulate, package, and store them in the UK. For this matter, and yeah, it's basically a part of your kind of longevity strategy. So it's this might sound controversial because I'm selling supplements myself, but at the same time, I want to say that there is no one magical pill that will make all of the bad stuff go away and will make you live forever, right? So it needs to be an effort on a daily basis. So you will have a look at your supplements, you will have a look at your autophagy activation. You want to be eating healthy, obviously, no carbs, as less carbs as possible, actually. And I can't stress this enough. I think this is one of the greatest biohacks that someone could implement, is to ditch sugar and carbs, because, everything changes once you do that, because your insulin doesn't go up and down all day long during the day. So this is a big deal for your body, because actually this makes you age faster. And yeah, I mean, I think that once you have this strategy, and once you are very conscious about what you're doing on a daily basis for your body, you will get the autophagy activation and you will get the NAD boost and activation as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, and both of them, like the wood fasting, also help with NAD production then, or the similar ones that increase autophagy, like exercise and saunas, and would they also have like a boosting effect on NAD?
Yeah, absolutely. It will have a very good effect on NAD as well. And, another one that is another hormesis basically for the body would be when you're working out and you're running out of breath, because this means that you're going into hypoxia. And this means that you're having less oxygen that you actually need at the moment. And this also boosts, your NAD production and your sirtuin genes eventually, because this mechanism kicks in and it says, okay, so the environment is not ideal at the moment, so I need to upregulate multiple pathways in the cell in order to survive, and in order to make sure that everything works as well as it can, because maybe there is some sort of a danger in the environment, maybe you run into to hide from a predator or something like this. So it's kind of an evolutionary conserved mechanism of survival.
Gotcha. Yeah. With NAD, does that have also like some negative side effects similar to autophagy like that? Would it help with cancer? Because I did find one article found that excess NAD, if they have like these mice, maybe if they had like some pre-genetic disposition to cancer, then this NAD actually also contributed to like the negative side effects of that.
Yeah, well, what happens with cancer is that we still are trying to elucidate the link between cancer and NAD, because there have been multiple studies. So there's been another human study, for example, where there were patients that previously had skin cancer, and they've been given NAD boosting supplements, and actually not only they didn't get more cancer, but the NAD supplementation actually made sure that more healthier cells are produced. So what we're seeing is that there needs to be more research in different kinds of cancer in order for us to understand whether there are some cancers that are more sensitive to NAD boosting or not. It's quite complicated, but at the same time, there is no solid evidence in human studies at the moment saying that NAD boosting compounds can actually give you cancer or contribute to growth to existing cancers. However, if someone does have a tumor, they should definitely check with their doctors first before taking an NAD supplement.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, generally it's something that usually people may want to consider if they're already like middle age and the elderly, and the younger people. For them, their body is already supposed to be producing sufficient amounts of NAD and autophagy, and for them the supplementation route maybe not that, like at least like not all the time. They don't need to do that all the time. Periodically maybe, but consistently, regularly may not be like the best strategy.
Yeah, I think that the peak of our NAD production is around 25 years of age, which correlates with our hormonal peak. So after 25, this is where people usually start complaining about getting tired more easily or having less focus and things like that. And I literally haven't met any one person that would tell me, look, you know what, I actually have never felt what you're talking about. Everyone is usually getting tired around the age of 26 or 27 more easily. And that's the age where you need to ask yourself whether you would like to try it out and to see if an NAD booster would be beneficial for you. Although, as I said, if you are at this young age, you actually should be having a healthy lifestyle anyway, and be exercising and doing all the other stuff which most of people don't do nowadays, unfortunately. And we're talking about the current pandemic and this COVID infection and everything, but the actual pandemic is the pandemic of obesity and diabetes and pre-diabetes, because I've seen some crazy statistics recently that we're talking about something like maybe up to 80% of adults in the Western countries having pre-diabetes. And I said, what? Like this can't be true. This is ridiculous. And then I looked around and realized that, everyone is eating desserts every day and it's the norm. And actually, this is very sad because it's not the norm and shouldn't be the norm, because that's definitely not what your body needs. It doesn't need all this insulin spikes all day long. And this is what we're doing, like everyone's snacking every 2 hours or whatever, biscuits, chocolates. This is so wrong. I can't stress how wrong it is. So, and that's the part of the problem. That's part of why young people already start having this decline in energy as well, because they're actually not very healthy. And even if you are considering yourself healthy, and this was an epiphany I had like something like 3 years ago, because I do have normal weight and I do have a normal BMI, and I was like skinny for the most of my life, and I was actually telling myself, oh yeah, I'm actually healthy, I'm fine. And then I started working out on a more regular basis when I was finishing my PhD, and I realized, oh wait a minute, I actually don't have any endurance at all. And I'm not healthy just because I'm skinny, just because I'm not I'm not healthy, and I need to kind of keep on pushing myself. And I've been working out much more regularly lately for the past 18 months or so, because I'm not tied to my lab work anymore after the finish of my PhD. So that's definitely a good factor there. So yeah, I kind of think that it's a very important thing to kind of get people informed about the benefits of healthy lifestyle. And there are some catchy phrases that they would hear here and there on the internet, but actually no, I would urge anyone that is listening to us right now to ask themselves, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how healthy I actually am. Okay, and then you can have a cheat sheet with different measurements saying, okay, in terms of nutrition, on a scale of 1 to 10, how healthy my nutrition was today. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did I work out today? Or, healthy biorhythms, sleeping as well is something very important, because this is where our body is regenerating. And sometimes we're, like people are going to sleep at ridiculous times at like 4 or 5 a.m. And then your circadian rhythms are all wrong. And this makes you, age worse and age faster. And this is definitely not health, so I think that it's a holistic approach to aging that what matters. And so I'm sorry, I got a bit off topic here, but I'm just really passionate about the subject.
I agree completely that people nowadays are older biologically than they are chronologically. So they are following these bad lifestyle habits that accelerates their biological age. And you can be, let's say, 25, but if you have the body of a 35-year-old or 45-year-old, then you will feel tired and exhausted all the time. So what matters more so like how their lifestyle habits contribute to the process of biological aging, and things like high blood sugar, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, poor sleep, all those things that will reduce like the NAD levels, as well as just the general health deterioration of your health in general. I think that's kind of the missing link of what should be focused on.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because actually there are quite a few things that actually drain our NAD levels, because we do have multiple enzymes competing for the consumption of NAD. One of this class of enzymes is the sirtuin genes that we already talked about. And then you have the PARP genes and the CD38, which is a marker of inflammation. So as we age, CD38 is being increased in the cell. And then you're having, because you do have those senescent cells in the body. So senescent cells are the zombie cells that are just sitting there and, doing nothing, just secreting some inflammatory signals to turn the neighboring cells into senescent cells as well. And this is what we have if we don't actively get rid of them. And by the way, on that note, there are different supplements you can take as well, such as quercetin, that would get rid of your senescent cells and things like that. And then you have the senescent cells that are increasing with age. So your CD38 is increasing with age, which consumes NAD. And now your sirtuin genes don't have enough NAD to kind of be repairing other things in the cell. Not only that, but there are actually some other things during your day. So for example, if you're being exposed to sunlight, you have DNA damage on your skin. So now your NAD is being drained because all of this DNA damage needs to be repaired. So it's all about conscious living on a daily basis and kind of analyzing what are the consequences of what are you doing on a daily basis, because being exposed to the sun for a prolonged period of time is definitely not good.
Yeah, so also saw like in the summertime there was a study that found the body uses NMN to actually repair or resist like the UV radiation. And if you are, not having enough NAD or not having enough NMN, then you're going to get burned also much faster because you don't have like the resources.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all about preserving your internal resources, and NAD is definitely a very important resource to kind of think about and to kind of preserve as well.
For sure. Yeah, but in regards to autophagy, is that something also that gets lower as you age?
Unfortunately, yes. So our ability to kind of be in autophagy is decreasing with age. However, I think that if you are conscious about it, and if you're doing your fasting on a regular basis, if you're doing intermittent fasting, you can make your body kind of to get used to be in autophagy as well. So again, it's like a long-term kind of process where you need to be implementing the intermittent fasting on a regular basis in order to make sure you're still getting as much autophagy as possible.
How would you like rank these things in terms of the autophagy? So fasting is one, but exercise is also. Someone asked coffee is like which one do you think is like the best for boosting the autophagy process, and which ones may not be like not worth it?
Yeah, I think that fasting is number one, then exercise would be number two. And then, you would probably have, MCT oil, for example, which is boosting your exogenous ketones. So for this reason, it kind of it contributes to increasing autophagy as well. And then from there, number four would be everything else that we mentioned, something like elderberries and mushrooms and the coffee and everything. So it's the least important one, but again, you do everything as a system on a daily basis, and then you get the optimal result.
Okay, gotcha. And for your own lifestyle, you are doing the fasting. What else are you doing? Like, are you taking any of these autophagy boosters, like rapamycin or metformin, anything like that?
Yeah, so rapamycin I wouldn't take, because rapamycin is acting on mTOR, right? So as we previously mentioned, they are mTOR dependent autophagy pathways and mTOR independent. So mTOR is also responsible for growth and translation in the cell. And this means that we don't know what would be the long-term consequences when we are taking an mTOR dependent autophagy booster, because we still don't know many things about how mTOR works, and if we are suppressing it, because rapamycin is a suppressor of mTOR, as mTOR is actually a negative regulator of autophagy. So if mTOR is switched on, autophagy is switched off. If you switch off mTOR, then you get autophagy. So for this reason, I wouldn't take rapamycin, but I would consider taking some mTOR independent supplements. So, microdosing with lithium, for example, could be an mTOR independent autophagy strategy. And then Trehalose, as I previously mentioned, I wanted to try spermidine. I've heard a lot of it. I've seen some studies in mice and in cells as well with regards to spermidine. Vitamin D has also been shown to be an mTOR independent autophagy activator. So I am regularly supplementing with vitamin D. So then, yeah, that's my strategy in terms of supplement for autophagy. And then, of course, I'm taking my NAD boosters. I'm taking NMN from NMN Bio. We are launching our second product now in a few days. Actually, it's called TMG, trimethylglycine, which is a glycine molecule with 3 methyl groups on it. And then it's an excellent addition to supplementation with NMN, because NMN is utilizing the methyl groups, but then you're giving them back with the TMG. So it's quite a nice supplement. I also take berberine instead of metformin. So because I live in Europe, it's actually hard to get metformin here, and I would probably need a prescription, which I don't have because I don't have diabetes. But berberine is the herbal analog of metformin, and I'm taking this on a regular basis as well. What else do I take? I really like my rhodiola, which is an nootropic herb, magnesium threonate, which is also good for your brain, but also for sleeping, glycine as well. So yeah, I kind of have my own stack of supplements as well.
Nice. Yeah, those are pretty good ones. I think like melatonin is also something that does activate autophagy, because the hormone itself, the natural hormone, also regulates the process of autophagy in your sleep. So maybe the supplement would also have this.
Yeah, I also have experimented with melatonin. It's a very interesting supplement. I'm still trying to kind of see what is the optimal dose for myself in terms of melatonin, because if I take something like 1 mg, it's actually too much, and then it's kind of hard to wake up. So I need to get another supplement that would be that would have less melatonin. But yeah, it actually has been shown to have multiple benefits on health, including autophagy and also increasing insulin sensitivity, which is a study that I recently have seen somewhere, and I thought that is very interesting because it's a sleep hormone, but surprisingly it has to do with regulating insulin levels as well. So quite an important hormone and quite an interesting supplement, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's almost like an anti-aging hormone besides the sleep. That autophagy, apoptosis, and the brain and like lymphatic system, and bone health, and so many other things.
Yeah, absolutely, very interesting.
You also mentioned this trehalose, and most people haven't heard of it. Like, so what it is?
Yeah, so trehalose is just a disaccharide. So this means that it's basically a sugar. It's a natural compound. It's a natural sugar, and some people just replace their regular sugar with trehalose. However, there are pros and cons because it is a sugar. So if you have too much of it, it's going to have an insulin spike, to result in an insulin spike. So that's not very good, I guess. So yeah, opinions vary on this one, because ideally you wouldn't be consuming any sugars at all. But if you want to put something in order to make your coffee a bit more sweet, then trehalose would be the way to go instead of regular sugar. And then I also personally am using a ketogenic creamer for my coffee as well, that I really like, and I think you also recommend one of those in your on your website.
Yeah, like the MCTs are a great way to boost the ketones. And if I'm not mistaken, or at least like there is research shows that the ketones themselves don't suppress autophagy, even if there's like a bit of more calories. So that can be something like you can get away with a little bit more of calories if you're eating like a slightly MCT type of a diet.
Yeah. So definitely very good stuff there.
Yeah. What else? Like, is there something that we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
I think we covered pretty much everything. I think this was a lot of information actually. So I would be very curious to kind of read the comments of your audience to see what they think about this episode and whether there's anything else that they would perhaps like us to cover in the future as well. I would be happy to kind of come over to the channel again because I really enjoy these conversations. And yeah, I think that the take-home message is to stay healthy for as long as possible and to actively work for it on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. That is. Before I ask my last question, where can people learn more about you and your work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they can head over our website, which is nmnbio.co.uk. And we actually have quite a lot of resources on the website as well. So we have a blog with blog posts written either by myself or a scientific writer, where we explain, more things about NAD, sirtuins, NMN, and all of this stuff. We're trying to always have references to the studies that we're mentioning in the blog posts and so on. So people can come and read about this, and of course they can get some of our NMN from the website as well, and very soon they will be able to get the TMG as well. And we're also working on a couple of proprietary products at the moment, and hopefully we will be launching those very soon as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna put the links in the show notes. And my last question is, what's this one piece of advice or habit that you wish you adopted sooner?
To cut the sugar from my life. Yes, I wish I had this advice sooner because, I didn't realize how important this is. And when I started studying it myself, I was just so surprised how important this is and how simple this advice is and how people are, unaware of how important this is for their health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's well, maybe like depends on your age. Like if you're young, then you can probably get away with it, and you can recover from that because your body is more resilient. Whereas if you're like in your 40s, 60s, then having like a bad diet or excess sugar consumption has a worse negative effect on your health because you already are low in all these resources and it's harder to recover. But in your young years, yeah, like although like a lot of kids eat, let's say, sugar, and then they're still healthy in their later life because their body was so like insulin sensitive and very very adaptable to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you will get away with it better, but at the same time, we are seeing increasing rates of type 2 diabetes all around the planet, even in teenage years, which is really heartbreaking. So I think that, you can deal with it better, but this doesn't mean that you still should consume it,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like it's very easy to avoidable for most people.
Yeah.
Well, it was great talking with you, and yeah, super excited about all the things that are coming out with NAD and Autophagy as well. And yeah, looking forward to your future work.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.